Aston Martin has always looked like a company built on elegance, speed, and pure British craftsmanship. But behind the polished chrome and the glossy showroom lights is a story far more complex than most people ever imagine. For decades, the brand carried an image of luxury and class, yet financially it often lived on fragile ground, surviving through cycles of excitement, disappointment, and dramatic rescue missions that kept the dream alive. The company's history reads almost like a high-stakes drama, where the cars are beautiful but the real engine is the constant flow of quiet, powerful money from people and groups who believed the brand was too iconic to let die. The most recent chapter of this story centers around Lawrence Stroll, a billionaire with a sharp eye for brands and a personal passion for the Aston Martin name. His involvement became one of the most important turning points in the company's modern era, but it was also part of a larger pattern that has defined Aston Martin's entire life: the silent support of wealthy backers who saw not just a car company, but a cultural symbol worth saving. For years, Aston Martin carried itself like a giant, even when its finances told a different story. Building handcrafted luxury cars is expensive, and competing with brands that sell 10 times more units every year can become a slow, painful struggle. The company went bankrupt multiple times throughout its history, each time rescued by groups of wealthy businessmen who couldn't stand the idea of losing such a respected part of automotive history. These weren't emotional decisions, they were strategic investments from people who saw potential in the brand's name, its heritage, and the deep emotional connection it held with enthusiasts. Aston Martin was more than a business, it was a symbol of legacy, and symbols attract people with long money, quiet influence, and a deep desire to shape something legendary from behind the scenes. Lawrence Stroll entered the picture at one of the most desperate moments. Sales were struggling, public confidence was fading, and the company's attempt to go public had turned into a rollercoaster of rising hope and sudden collapse. Stroll didn't just bring money, he brought belief. He understood how a luxury brand should feel, how it should behave, and how it should be protected. His investment was part lifeline, part takeover, part rebirth. By forming a powerful consortium of wealthy individuals who shared his vision, he stepped into the company not as a casual investor but as someone determined to rebuild the foundation from the inside out. To many, it looked sudden. To those who follow the world of high-value brands, it was perfectly natural. Wealthy consortiums often watch companies like Aston Martin from the shadows, waiting for the moment when their influence can make the biggest difference. The most fascinating part of Aston Martin's financial story is how these investors operate almost invisibly. They rarely step into the spotlight unless necessary. They move through boardrooms and private meetings, shifting the company's path with decisions that the public hears about only when they're finalized. These backers understand something the average car lover doesn't always think about. Aston Martin's value isn't in the number of cars it sells, but in the emotion the brand carries, the story it tells, and the status it represents. Investors like Stroll treat the brand like a piece of art, knowing that if handled correctly, it can rise far above its financial struggles. The genius of the strategy is subtle but powerful. Take something iconic, restore its shine, protect its identity, and slowly build a future strong enough to justify the investment. Stroll's involvement also brought a more modern approach to Aston Martin's future. He pushed for deeper integration with motorsport, which wasn't just about racing but about rebuilding global attention, gaining credibility, and reminding the world that Aston Martin wasn't just about leather seats and beautiful curves, it was about speed, engineering, and competition. This shift helped attract new fans and new buyers, and it gave wealthy investors a reason to keep pouring money into the brand. Behind every announcement, behind every new model, behind every major decision, there were individuals and groups working quietly, calculating carefully, and shaping the long-term narrative. What makes Aston Martin's story so compelling is that it shows how a luxury legend can survive not because of massive sales or stable profits, but because powerful people believe in what it represents. The company has always lived at the edge, balancing between artistic beauty and financial uncertainty, but it has never been allowed to fall permanently. Every time the world thinks the end is near, another group steps in, wealthy, strategic, and determined to keep the brand alive. It's almost as if Aston Martin is protected by a circle of silent guardians who see the brand not as a business but as a legacy that must be preserved. In the end, the story of Aston Martin is not only about cars, it's about belief. It's about the quiet power of individuals and consortiums who remain unseen but deeply influential. It's about how a brand built on elegance has survived through the hands of people who understand the value of dreams, heritage, and identity. And it shows that sometimes the most important part of a company's success is not the product it sells, but the people who protect it from the shadows, determined to make sure its story never ends.